Yeah, we're all American and we work real hard. Light the barbecue up every July 4th. And hot apple pie.
All right, Tommy Dimsdale with the Dimsdale. We're here with Lindsey Graham, and Lindsey, we just passed nullification in the House. I was wondering, some people are saying it's constitutional, some people are saying it's not, and
I don't know, but I like the whole idea of trying to stand up and say the states have a role in the Constitution. The 10th Amendment is constitutional. So I really don't know how nullification works. Is the Roe v. Wade or Obamacare, but I do know this, that the 10th Amendment, that one of the things that they struck Obamacare down was the Medicaid violated that 10th Amendment, the Medicaid expansion. So at least you're in line with the court there.
Right.
Okay.
Do you think Alan Wilson would prosecute anybody if it does pass?
I don't know if you can go down the criminal road.
Right.
I think the statement that there's limits on the federal government is the right statement to make. Absolutely.
I've got one more.
Get a picture before you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm a Reagan conservative, and I got a lot of friends who are libertarians.
Right.
And one thing I think that the Republican Party needs to be focused on, libertarians as well, is how we can mesh these two groups together, because they're a very powerful group.
Look at the common enemy. It's not libertarianism, it's not Republican conservatism, it's the liberal agenda. If you believe in a strong, vibrant economy, the Obama solution is not right for you. If you believe in individual freedom, I think the whole Democratic apparatus in Washington has stifled our ability to grow our economy and basically chart our own destiny. On foreign policy, we have a different view. But I think there's more in common than there are differences. And if we don't form coalitions, they're going to beat us.
Right.
And the prize is to take back our country.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsey. I appreciate it.
Good day. Yes, sir.
I'm a friend of Alexa Newman's. I know you and she are great friends. You know.
She was with us last night, and we love Alexa.
Yeah,
Hey, everybody.
I know you're pro-life, and I wanted to know, we're looking to see if we can't use the nullification philosophy to attack abortion in South Carolina. Would you support that? Because that's the way we can do that.
Nullifying what?
Nullifying any abortion in South Carolina. Any laws that would come in on a federal level in South Carolina, they're null and void in South Carolina.
How would that affect Roe v. Wade?
I think it would say Roe v. Wade was incorrectly.
I agree with that. I agree with
and
that.
South Carolina would step up and say.
I don't know how that works with the
Well,
let's talk about it.
Jefferson and Madison would agree with this.
Let's talk about
Here's one of my cards.
Thank you.
You know, and I'd love to talk to you. I've asked Alexa a lot of times.
Thank you. Alexa is absolutely. And to those of you who are pro-life, that is not a problem with our party. Our party should be pro-life. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it should be. We should bring it back to the state level.
That's exactly right. I'm living proof you can pass law school without going to the library. Did you enjoy your breakfast?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very, very much. I can't. Well, that's the least we can do, and in Washington we usually do the least we can. To everybody here who's decided to come out on a Saturday morning to kind of revitalize the Republican Party, thank you. Many of you I've known for years, some I've just met. But if you're like I am, you're a little bit worried after 2012, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, amen. We got to figure out how to grow the party, and here's what we can't lose sight of. Conservatism is an asset, not a liability. Anybody here pro-life?
Yeah.
I thought you might be. Now, when people tell us, let's don't talk about abortion, well, if you can't talk about when life begins, what's government for? When does life begin? When do you have a soul? You know, what's the role of the government vis-a-vis life? I mean, it's an odd concept that when the baby is instantly born, 1 minute old, everybody says the law should be there for that child. Well, what about 2 minutes before it's born? Just keep thinking and talking about it. Hispanic voters. Don't have many here, but we're going to try to go find some. Among the country as a whole, which group in America is the most pro-life demographically? Hispanics. So you'll never convince me that our party cannot grow among Hispanics. We will, and we can, and we must. Now, what group in America supports traditional marriage the most? African American. Somebody's really smart this morning. I think you can be supportive of traditional marriage. I think you can be very pro-life, and it will not hurt our chances at all. I think it is just absolutely conservatism an asset. But how you talk about things does matter. If you can't agree on abortion, let's talk about taxes. You know, let's try to get a coalition. If you're a libertarian and you disagree with me on foreign policy, let's talk about repealing Obamacare. You know, I took Strom Thurmond's place. Yeah, amen on repealing Obamacare. Strom Thurmond was able to show anybody who watched how you, over time, get a lot of people helping you. He started as a Dixiecrat, and in his last election, when he was 94, and you know, y'all can give a tribute to me 42 years from now on my last one. I'm going to miss a lot of y'all. But Strom was able to, in his last election, get about 25% or more of the African American vote, 4 times what the average Republican gets, because over time, he proved to people that if you came into his office, he would try to help. And I want to recognize my staff. I've got the best staff in the world. Thank you all. Campaign. So Benghazi. Why is it important? You've been following it on Fox? If you've been watching Fox, you've been watching me. I'm going to call Roger Ailes and say thank you, thank you, thank you. The reason it's important is when 4 Americans die serving their nation, their families cannot let it be believed that their families died and people didn't appreciate what happened, and they need to know the truth. And what I think we're going to learn from Benghazi starting Wednesday, you're going to have survivors come forward Wednesday. If Bush had done what the Obama administration had done, shielded the survivors, told a story about a riot that never happened based on a video that had nothing to do with it, they would be impeaching him. Mm-hmm. If the Secretary of Defense had said, I never talked to the President during the whole attack, it'd be front page news. Mm-hmm. If the Secretary of State said she never talked to the Secretary of Defense, they'd be claiming Bush administration incompetent. Well, what you're going to see Wednesday in the House hearing, and thank God for Republican-controlled House, you're going to hear from people who lived through Benghazi, and they're going to tell you a completely different story. And Hillary Clinton's going to learn pretty quickly, what does it matter? It matters a lot. So before Benghazi, we're going to learn that they were begging for help, and nobody in Washington was listening to them. They felt abandoned before the attack. The British closed their consulate in June because their ambassador had been attacked. Our consulate had been attacked twice. We left it open and became a death trap. You're going to hear from people on the ground what it was like to try to hold it together. And during the attack, 7.5 hours on September 11th, you're going to hear for the first time the number of pleas made. Please come help us. And those of you who've been in the military, one of the things that makes us unique as a country, particularly in the Marine Corps, they don't leave a dead person on the battlefield, much less like somebody who's wounded. There is a feeling in the military I haven't seen since I've been in the military that our government no longer has our back. And we got to stop that. And one way to stop it is get to the truth on Benghazi. If you form a joint committee instead of looking at it separately and you put me on it, you'll get the truth on Benghazi. You will get the truth on Benghazi. Now, after the attack, what Susan Rice said was literally political spin, not to fight a war. It was 7 weeks before the election. They claimed credit for killing bin Laden, and that was a gutsy call. But bin Laden may be dead, but radical Islam is not. And this administration won't even use the term. And leading from behind caught up with us in Libya, and what was said about Libya after the attack got me going because I never believed one word of it. So come Wednesday, we're going to take a second look at Benghazi, and I think we should recall witnesses. Mm-hmm. I think we should bring them back to the Congress. I'd give anything to be able to speak to Hillary Clinton about what she knew and when she knew it. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Finally, about Boston. Boston is a case study and going backward in national security. Did you see the little exchange between me and the president? The reason I said that Boston and Benghazi were examples of going backwards, we've had 8 dead Americans in 7 months, 4 in Benghazi, 4 in Boston. And when you look at the circumstances around both cases, how could you conclude otherwise than we're going backwards? In Boston, once the young man was interviewed, once the Russians told us you have a radical Islamist in your midst, the FBI did a pretty good job of interviewing him, his mother, and people around him. The CIA got notified by the Russians, so they put him in this database called TIDE. And that's when it all broke down. When he went back to Russia, we picked it up at DHS, but we did not tell the FBI or the CIA. That is exactly the problem we had before 9/11. And about immigration reform, this is a classic example. We need to improve our system. Why would you give somebody asylum and they turn right around and go back where they came from? Asylum means you can't live there safely, and that whole family went back. I'm going to introduce legislation that says if you get asylum, you go back, you can't come back here. Because we know you're up to no good. So the FBI and the CIA were in the dark about his time in Russia. And what you need to look for is when he went on his website and embracing radical Islam for the whole world to see, was he looking at these videos before he went to Russia or after? I guarantee you he went to Russia and he got involved in the Dagestan radical Islamic movement. And not to know that he was watching these videos for the world to see, I think is a result of political correctness. If you're in the terrorist database and we don't know you go to one of the most dangerous places in the world, Mr. President, how could you say the system is working? And when you get back here and you go on your own computer and you start watching videos that, want him to kill us and nobody notices that, something's wrong. I've got a simple view. We're at war. We're not fighting a crime. And this enemy called radical Islam wants to come here. Where they want to hit us, they want to hit us in our own backyard. So when you have somebody who's on the terrorist watch list, we need to be watching their computer. We need to be watching their computer. And when you start watching radical Islamic videos, you should get a knock on the door from the FBI. And they should remind you, a year ago we talked to you and you said you love this country, you wanted to be an Olympic boxer. What is going on here? And afterwards, reading this guy his Miranda rights broke my heart. This is ridiculous. Eric Holder is taking this country down a path that's going to get us killed. We're going down a path of where we're fighting a crime, not a war. These are not misunderstood young men. They were out partying the night after this attack. Tell that to the family of the 8-year-old. The FBI agents were very upset that this interview was stopped after 16 hours. And the only way you can get information now is to go through his lawyer. Intelligence gathering through plea bargaining is not a good way to fight a war. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. We're going to have to do some things quickly in this country on our national security front, including securing our borders and controlling who comes into the country and knowing when people leave. Immigration reform is long overdue. It's a national security concern, it's an economic concern, it's a cultural concern. And I'm just going to be honest with you among my friends. We've got to get this issue done right and get it behind us as a party. As a nation, we've got to get this fixed. I will do my best to work with my colleagues in the House and the Senate to get a bill that prevents the third wave of illegal immigration. Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to 3 million people and we didn't do the things we needed to. Now we got 11. Here's my promise to you. When we do this time, this is the end of this stuff. We're going to control our borders, we're going to control who gets a job, and we're going to find a way to have an immigration system that we can tell the difference between somebody who wants to work and somebody who wants to kill us all. In 2014, we've got 6 Senate seats where Democrats hold the seat and Obama got 42% of the vote. If we could pick up the U.S. Senate and keep the House, Obama's second term is completely different. Yep. Just think about that. Now, I'm up in 2014. help me if you can. If you can, I understand. But I do need your help. This party has been good to me. Sometimes we have our differences within our party. To our libertarian friends, you're a very important part of this coalition. To the Ronald Reagan conservatives, I think you define the Republican Party in South Carolina.
About the Tea Party.
And the Tea Party.
Thank you.
And the Tea Party vegetarians. Gotta be vegetarians. The Tea Party, the libertarians, the traditional Reagan conservatives, Constitutional Party, what do we have in common? Well, I'm going to tell you what we have in common. We all believe America's going down the wrong road under Obama. We all believe that. And the only way this coalition can survive and thrive is to focus on what we have in common. It's not the 3 times out of 10 that define us. It's the 7 times out of 10. And Ronald Reagan said, if you agree with me 80% of the time, you're my friend. And here's the question for the Tea Party, for the Ronald Reagan conservatives, for anybody else, Constitutional Party members. How many times do you agree with Obama?
Never.
Have a good day.